Destructoid, it's Hollie Bennett. We're at E3 and we're talking War of the Worlds. And it's not quite the alien invasion that some of you remember from the movies, because you guys are doing something completely new with it.
Absolutely.
We're not just rehashing. So tell us a little bit about the game that you're working on, and a little bit about the studio as well, because you're not one of the big boys. You're coming in, you're breaking in.
We are breaking in, we're fairly new. We're Other Ocean Interactive. The most recent game we've shipped is Dark Void Zero for DSiWare, and it did really well for us, and so we're looking for something to follow that up with. And that's when we got a call from our friends at Paramount, and they asked us if there's anything interesting in their back catalog. And we were kind of like, no, we don't really want to do something that's like a movie game.
It's quite a back catalog. Let's face it,
oh my God.
Paramount.
Yeah, I mean, they have everything.
One or two films.
I mean, it took 2 days just to go through it, which was very painful. But there was some really incredible IP in there, and the intellectual property we were looking at mostly was things like Barbarella, which would be awesome. But they kind of pushed us away from that. And the next one was War of the Worlds. And if we were going to do it, we want to do something very original. Like, one thing, you can try to be as good as H.G. Wells, but if you try to recreate what he did, it's a fool's errand. So, and George Pal and Spielberg, who've done it before, they've changed it and made it their own. So we're going to do the same thing with a game. And so that's what we set out to do.
So tell us a little bit about the game itself. It's on the Xbox Live Arcade, it's on the PlayStation Network, but tell us about how the way the game works.
Okay, so for those who are a little more old school in the audience, they might remember a game called Flashback or Out of This World or even Prince of Persia. We were huge fans of those games, and we're a small team, so if we're going to go do one of these games, and we're very retro, we're going to do a game like those. And so we set out to make War of the Worlds a puzzle platformer with a lot of rotoscoping. Nobody's really done rotoscoping in a long time, and there's a very distinct look to that. We weren't going to mocap people, and we weren't going to do it by hand. Like, rotoscoping just looks very different. It's almost like stop motion looks different than CG. So once we started doing that, we had ourselves running around in the game. So for a while, it was like our art director is the main character, and I'm like a passenger on a train. And we started replacing that all by hand and doing kind of paint overs and rotoscope the characters. So the game itself is really a love letter to those old 16-bit platformers.
But let's talk about something like the art style. Because I know you've done lots of interesting little things. This isn't just a very simple game. There's a lot of thought has gone into this.
That's right. The palette itself tells the story of the war. So it's like as the tide of the war like switches from kind of like nice England and everything's nice and pretty and colorful, very Panavision full color set. When the invasion begins, it starts to go more monochromatic. So about halfway through the game, when the shit really
you can say shit.
Okay, I can.
I've sworn a lot.
when the shit really hits the fan, that's when things start to go more monochromatic as far as everything human, and the alien technology itself becomes more colorful. And by the end, as we all know the story, like one thing we're playing with is like the story ends the same way every time. As that tide of war starts to switch, color starts to come back into the human world, and the ending kind of restores itself. It's pretty cool, and the effect came from, we're originally making this a 16-bit style pixel platformer. So when we decided to go more HD and drop the pixel look, we started up-resing everything, and it had it's like its own distinct look, like nothing we'd seen before, and that was just a byproduct of up-resing 16-bit. So that's kind of how it came to be. And
difficulty. So I think old school gamers seem to have a bit more of a thing for difficulty. Is it going to be an easy game? Because it's kind of a run-through. Can you run straight through, or is it really, you're going to be dying a lot?
Yes, you are. We are fans of hard games. In fact, our favorite kind of game is like the old Capcom style games like Mega Man, that sort of thing. However, in Mega Man, when you die, it is very painful to have to go back so far and redo a section. So we're very generous on our waypoint system. So you're going to be dying a lot, but it's never going to feel like, oh crap, I just lost all that work. It's going to be like no more than 20 seconds worth of work you're going to have to recover from. And then also it's just the way you play it, that visceral sense. When you get to the end of a level, the reward should be, I just kicked ass on that level, not, hey, I've got 20,000 points and it guided me through all this. It's more or less like when you get through it, you should feel like you should be all sweaty and the carpet should be wet from your sweat. That's what we're looking for.
And very finally, when can we expect to see the game?
What's that?
When can we see the game? When
will the world be able to buy it and that sort of thing? I can't say much more than other than it's going to be out by the end of the year, and so people will be able to at least have it by Christmas, but it'll probably be much sooner than that.
Perfect. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
You can keep watching the front page. Matt Scoville's already written this game up before, so if you want to go back and find that, you can. It's a very interesting read, guys.
Thank you.